The sun hung low over the jagged silhouette of the Arizona Badlands, painting the sky in strokes of blood red and bruised purple, as if the heavens themselves mourned the day's quiet cruelties. Elias Hawthorne, his weathered hands calloused from decades of wrestling stubborn earth into submission, knelt in the dust of his modest ranch, his 10-year-old son Tommy clinging to his side like a shadow afraid of the gathering dark. "Listen here, boy," Elias murmured, his voice gravelly with the weight of 60 hard years. "This land ain't just dirt and rock. It's a promise. You give it kindness, water when it's thirsty, shade when it's scorched, and it gives back life tenfold." Tommy nodded, wide-eyed, his small fingers tracing the faint scars on his father's knuckles, scars earned not from fists but from pulling a neighbor's calf from a flash flood, or mending a fence for a stranger passing through. In that moment, father and son were the world entire, bound by the unspoken vow of men who tilled the unforgiving frontier: survive, but never at the cost of your soul. It shattered like dry clay under a boot heel. Hoofbeats thundered from the east, a ragged posse of 6 men, outlaws hardened by whiskey and want, their faces twisted masks of greed and grudge. They'd come for the Hawthorne herd, those 20 scrappy longhorns that represented Elias's every dawn to dusk gamble. "Hawthorne," bellowed the leader, a brute named Harlan with a scar splitting his lip like a perpetual snarl, "that fence you put up crosses my claim. Pay up, or we'll take it in blood." Elias rose slowly, shielding Tommy with his body, his rifle slung uselessly over a fence post 50 yards away. "Ain't no claim but the one we all share under God's eye, Harlan. Take what you need fair, but leave the boy be." The words were steady, laced with that quiet steel Elias had forged in the fires of his own losses, his wife taken by fever 5 years back, leaving him and Tommy to stitch their hearts with hope alone. But Harlan's men weren't men of fairness, they were wolves scenting weakness. They dragged Elias down in a blur of fists and spurs, his pleas for mercy drowned in the thud of boots against ribs. Tommy screamed, a raw, animal wail that clawed at the evening air, but the boy was shoved aside, tumbling into the scrub oak like a discarded rag. He watched, frozen in terror, as his father curled into a ball, blood blooming dark on the earth like wild roses in spring. "Ha!" Tommy's voice cracked, but Elias lifted his head one last time, eyes locking on his son's through the haze of pain. "Run, Tommy boy, find help, and remember, kindness, always kindness." The words were a gasp, a final ember in the dying light. Harlan spat on the ground, mounting up with a laugh that echoed like shattering glass. "Let the old fool rot. We'll be back for the rest." And they rode off, leaving the ranch a silent grave under the emerging stars. Tommy scrambled to his father's side, tears carving rivers through the dust on his cheeks. Elias's breath came in shallow rattles, his hand trembling as it cupped the boy's face. "Not revenge, son. That's poison. Find the light in folks, even them." With that, his eyes fluttered shut, not in death, not yet, but in the deep, drifting sleep of the broken. Tommy buried his face in his father's chest, the heartbeat faint as a distant drum, and in that cradle of warmth and woe, a seed took root, not hatred, but a fierce, unyielding vow to honor the man who had taught him the ranch's truest lesson. He rose then, grabbing a canteen and a knife from the saddlebag, and slipped into the twilight, the Badlands swallowing him whole. Behind him, the ranch stood sentinel, its lanterns flickering like prayers unanswered. The boy's flight was a fever dream of thorns and thirst, the moon his only companion as it climbed the sky like a silver coin tossed by indifferent gods. Tommy Hawthorne, small for his 10 years, with hair the color of sun-bleached straw and eyes blue as a desert sky after rain, stumbled through canyons that whispered secrets of ancient peoples. He'd heard Pa stories around the supper fire, tales of the Apache, fierce guardians of these red rock realms, who moved like smoke and struck like lightning. They're kin to this land, Tommy, Elias would say, passing a bowl of stew thickened with wild onions. Treat him with respect, and they'll see the good in you. But respect felt distant now, a luxury lost to the bruise blooming on Tommy's cheek where Harlan's man had cuffed him. All he knew was direction, west, toward the whispers of the White Mountain Apache, the only folk Pa swore could match the outlaws, savagery. Revenge burned in his chest, hot as mesquite coals, but beneath it simmered something softer, Elias's echo, kindness. Dawn broke on the second day, painting the cliffs in gold, when Tommy collapsed at the edge of a hidden arroyo. His canteen hung empty, his legs leaden weights, and visions danced before his eyes. Ha's smile, Ma's lullabies, the ranch's windmill creaking like a grandfather's sigh. He didn't hear the soft pad of moccasins until a shadow fell across him, cool and unyielding. There stood a girl, no older than he, her dark braids adorned with turquoise beads that caught the light like captured stars. She was Apache, her deerskin dress fringed with feathers, a bow slung across her back. Her eyes, black as polished obsidian, held no fear, only curiosity, and perhaps a flicker of pity. "Hinda likoi," she said softly, the white eyes slur-laced not with venom but with the neutrality of wind-over stone. Tommy flinched, expecting arrows, but she knelt instead, offering a gourd of cool water from a hidden spring. He drank greedily, the liquid a benediction, and when he lowered it, she was gone, vanished like mist, leaving only the echo of her voice. "Follow the raven's cry." He did, for reasons he couldn't name, perhaps the water's gift, or the way her gaze had mirrored his own hidden ache. The raven led him deeper into the canyons, where petroglyphs etched the walls like the ghosts of forgotten dreams. Hunters with spears, mothers cradling babes, warriors dancing under full moons. By midday, the arroyo widened into a verdant valley, ringed by cottonwoods whose leaves shivered like applause. There, in the shadow of a sheer red cliff, sprawled the Apache encampment, not a war camp of blood and fury, but a living tapestry of humanity, women grinding corn with stones that sang rhythmic songs, elders weaving baskets intricate as lace, children chasing hoop and pole games across the dust. Smoke curled from cook fires, carrying scents of venison and sage, and laughter bubbled up like hidden springs. Tommy hesitated at the tree line, his heart a war drum, but then a figure emerged from a wickiup, tall and straight as a pine, his silver hair braided with eagle feathers. Shadow, chief of the White Mountain Band, his face a map of lines carved by sun and sorrow. The boy froze, knife half drawn, but Shadow's eyes narrowed not in threat, but recognition. "You carry the mark of Hawthorne," the chief rumbled, his English halting but resonant, like thunder rolling distant. He pointed to the braided leather bracelet on Tommy's wrist, a gift from Elias, years past, traded for a lame foal Elias had nursed back to health. Tommy stammered the tale then, words tumbling like rocks in a flash flood, the raid, the beating, fading light. He expected fury, allies forged in vengeance, but Shadow listened in silence, his warriors gathering like shadows, men with faces painted for counsel, not combat. When Tommy finished, fists clenched, fleeting for 500 strong to ride against Harlan's scourge, the chief placed a hand on his shoulder, heavy as earth's own promise. "Your father, he is Inda," The White Brother. Long ago, when fever clawed my people like coyotes, he rode alone through storms to bring medicine from the agency town. Risked his life for strangers. And when my son fell from a cliff, broken like dry branch, Elias carried him miles on his back, singing songs to keep the boy's spirit from wandering. He asked nothing. That is the debt we carry. Tommy blinked, the fire in his belly flickering uncertain. Ha had never spoken of those rides, only chuckled when pressed, waving it off as neighboring. But here, in the heart of Apache lands, the stories bloomed like yucca after rain, whispers from elders of the rancher who shared water in drought, who mended nets for fishermen downriver, who buried a fallen scout with honors under a lone juniper. We owe him warriors, Chato continued, his voice a low hymn, but not for blood. For protection, Harlan's shadow grows. He raids our herds too, steals our horses under moonless skies. Your father's kindness wove us together. Now, we weave back. An unexpected turn pierced Tommy then, sharp as a thorn. This wasn't conquest, but connection. The boy had come for swords, but found shields, forged not in hate, but in the quiet grace of a man who gave without tally. As the sun wheeled toward noon, the camp stirred like a hive roused to purpose. Chato summoned the council, elders and braves circling a fire pit where embers glowed like captured sunsets. Tommy sat at the edge, feeling small yet seen, as tales unfolded of Elias's selflessness. The winter he turned his barn into shelter for Apache families fleeing army patrols, sharing blankets sewn by Tommy's own mother. The spring he taught young warriors to shoe horses, laughing as they cursed the hammer's bite. Inda saw us not as enemies, an elder named Najoni intoned, her voice woven with the threads of memory, but as brothers in the great circle. He fed the hungry, healed the sick, and in doing so, healed the hate between our worlds. Tommy's throat tightened, a profound realization dawning like light through canyon walls. Ha hadn't built walls against the other, he'd bridged them with hands open and heart unguarded. The boy had run from violence, chasing its echo, but here amid the Apache's unyielding dignity, he glimpsed the power of humanity's softer sinew. Kindness is the truest weapon, selflessness the unbreachable fort. Word spread like wildfire on dry grass. Riders fanned out to allied bands, summoning the 500, the warriors of the White Mountain, the Tonto, the Sebeku, their numbers swelled by women and elders who carried the spirit's fire. By dusk, the valley thrummed with preparation. Arrows fletched with eagle feathers, horses blanketed in colors of earth and sky, songs rising in harmony that blended Dene chants with the low hymns Elias had hummed while plowing fields. Tommy helped where he could, his small hands tying knots under the guidance of the girl from the arroyo. Her name, he learned, was Ayana, meaning eternal blossom. She taught him to braid sinew, her fingers deft and sure, and in the quiet between tasks, she shared her own ache. Her brother lost to a white man's bullet in a land dispute, her father's grief a silent storm. Hate blinds us, she said, eyes on the horizon, but your father's light, it shows the way. Tommy nodded, the weight of worlds on his shoulders lightening, as if sharing burdens have them. That night, under a canopy of stars vast as hope, he dreamed not of vengeance, but of a ranch where Apaches and ranchers broke bread, their laughter drowning old grudges. The third dawn broke fierce, the encampment a river of resolve flowing eastward. Tommy rode double behind Chato on a paint pony swift as whispered prayers, 500 souls streaming behind, warriors astride mustangs that danced like flames, their faces ochre streaked with symbols of unity, not war. Banners of trade cloth fluttered, bearing the hawk feather Elias had gifted Shadow years back, a token of truce. The journey carved through badlands that tested the spirit. Dust devils swirled like vengeful ghosts, ravens wheeled overhead as omens, and once, scouts reported Harlan's trail. Fresh tracks veering toward the Hawthorne Ranch, the outlaws emboldened by easy prey. Tommy's pulse raced, fear and fury tangling like barbed wire, but Shadow's steady hand on the reins anchored him. "Remember, young hawk," the chief murmured, "the greatest battle is won in the heart. Your father knew this. We ride not to destroy, but to defend the good." As the sun climbed to its zenith, the ranch came into view, a fragile jewel amid the desolation. Smoke curled from the chimney, chimney, signaling life, but shadows moved unnatural. Harlan's men, looting the barn, their laughter a profane dirge. Elias lay propped against the porch, bandaged crudely by his own trembling hands, his eyes fluttering open at the thunder of hosts. Tommy's cry split the air, "Ha!" as he slid from the pony, racing across the yard. The outlaws whirled, guns drawn, Harlan's snarl twisting into shock at the sight. Not a lone boy, but an army born of the earth itself. Apaches arrayed not in bloodlust but solemn array, bows unnotched, lances lowered. "What devilry is this?" Harlan bellowed, his men faltering, fingers twitching on triggers. The climax unfurled like a storm held in check, raw and revelatory. Shadow dismounted, his presence a monolith, and strode forward with Tommy at his side. "We come for Elias Hawthorne," the chief declared, voice carrying like wind through canyons, "the man who bound our wounds when others sought to widen them. You beat him for greed's sake, but greed devours its host. Leave this place, or face not our wrath, but the judgment of the circle you broke." Harlan laughed, a brittle bark, but his eyes darted, 500 faces, unyielding as granite, their silence more potent than war cries. Then, an unexpected fracture. One of the outlaws, a young rider named Jem with haunted eyes and a bandaged arm, stepped forward. "Harlan, this is the rancher who pulled me from a horse stampede last fall. Gave me work, no questions. Said every man deserves a second dawn." The words hung, a crack in the posse's armor, rippling outward. Another muttered of Elias sharing seed corn in lean times. A third recalled the old man's water barrel left open for travelers, white or red. In that suspended breath, Tommy knelt by his father, tears spilling as Elias's hand found his. "You brought friends, son, not foes." The boy's voice broke, a dam bursting. I thought strength was fists and fire. But you gave everything, and they came. Because of your heart." Elias smiled through cracked lips, weak but radiant. "That's the turn, Tommy boy. Kindness ain't weakness, it's the river that carves mountains." Harlan, sensing the tide's shift, spat curses but backed his horse, his men peeling away like leaves in a gale. Jem lingering last, dropping a stolen saddlebag with murmured shame. They fled into the dust, not pursued, for the true victory was etched in the air. Warriors lowering weapons to offer hands, Apaches tending Elias with salves of yarrow and willow bark, Ayana pressing a cool cloth to Tommy's brow. Shadow clasped Elias's forearm, the bracelet glinting like a vow renewed. "Inda, your light called us. Now, we stand as one." As twilight draped the ranch in velvet peace, the 500 lingered not as conquerors, but kin, sharing a feast of jerked beef and fry bread under the windmill's creak, stories weaving like threads in a grand loom. Elders spoke of futures unbound by borders, braves teaching Tommy the bow's graceful arc, children from both worlds chasing fireflies in gleeful chaos. Elias, propped on blankets, watched with eyes misty as a summer rain, his wounds mending not just in flesh but in the soul's quiet chambers. Tommy sat close, Ayanna at his other side, her hand brushing his intentative alliance, a bridge of youth across old divides. The boy realized then, profound and piercing, that humanity's power lay not in division's sharp edges, but in the selfless acts that blurred them, a father's hidden generosities rippling outward, summoning warriors from the wild to guard the hearth. In the days that followed, the ranch transformed, a microcosm of hope's quiet revolution. Apache scouts patrolled the fringes, their presence a deterrent fiercer than any fence. Elias's herd swelled with traded foals, his fields enriched by seeds from canyon gardens. Letters arrived from agency towns, whispers of Harlan's posse disbanded, Jem, redeemed, turning deputy in a border hamlet, crediting the Hawthorne light for his pivot. Tommy grew tall in that soil, learning Apache songs beside corral chores, his heart a vessel for the lesson etched eternal. Selflessness sows alliances where hate harvests only thorns. And on clear nights, when the stars wheeled like ancestral eyes, father and son would sit the porch, the wind carrying echoes of hooves long faded. "You saved us, Ha," Tommy would say, voice thick with wonder. Elias would chuckle, "Frail no more, no, boy. Kindness saved us all. It's the spark that lights the world's dark corners." So it is, in the vast American tapestry, frayed by feuds, yet ever mending, that one old rancher's unassuming grace summoned a tide of humanity, proving the improbable truth. In giving without count, we receive the unbreakable. May we all, in our own badlands, choose the river over the rock, and watch as warriors rise not from wrath, but from the profound, world-altering bloom of compassion. For in that choice lies not just survival, but the soaring, hopeful song of who we might yet become.